Katie Morrison pushed her long brown hair behind her ears and stared at the textbook screen in front of her. The words seemed to blur together as she tried to understand the complex names of alien species. She was 16 years old and sitting in her favorite corner of Moonbeam Café, a small place on New Haven Station, where humans and aliens came to drink coffee and eat together. The café was busy today. She could hear the soft clicks and whistles of different alien languages mixing with human voices. A family of blue-skinned Altarians sat near the window, their children playing with small glowing toys. 2 tall Centaurians, with 4 arms each, were sharing a meal at the center table, their multiple hands moving gracefully as they ate. Katie loved watching all the different species. That was why she wanted to study xenobiology. Her friends at school thought she was weird for being so interested in aliens, but Katie found them fascinating. Each species was so different, with their own cultures and ways of living. She took a sip of her hot chocolate and looked back at her homework. The assignment was to classify 20 different alien species and explain their basic biology. It sounded easy, but the scientific names were incredibly long and complicated. She was already behind on her schoolwork, and this assignment was due tomorrow. A soft thud made her look up. At the table next to hers, a tall figure had dropped something on the floor. It was a datapad, the kind everyone used for reading and communication. The being who had dropped it was unlike any alien Katie had seen before. He was tall, maybe 7 feet, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer slightly in the cafe's warm light. His hair was silver and neatly styled, and when he looked down at the fallen datapad, Katie could see his eyes were a beautiful violet color. He wore simple dark clothes, but something about the way he carried himself seemed important, like he was used to people paying attention to him. The alien seemed embarrassed about dropping his datapad. He looked around nervously, as if he was not used to making mistakes in public. Katie noticed that his hands were shaking slightly as he reached down to pick it up. Without thinking, Katie got up from her table and walked over to help him. She picked up the datapad before he could reach it and handed it to him with a smile. "Here you go," she said cheerfully. The alien's violet eyes widened in surprise. He took the datapad carefully, as if he was not used to strangers helping him. "Thank you," he said in perfect English, though his voice had a slight accent that Katie could not identify. "That was very kind of you." "No problem," Katie replied. She was about to go back to her table when she noticed something. The alien looked incredibly sad. His shoulders were slumped, and he kept glancing out the large window that showed the stars beyond the station. He seemed lonely, like he did not have anyone to talk to. Katie had always been good at talking to people. Her mother said she was too friendly for her own good, always trying to help others even when they did not ask for it. But something about this alien made her want to stay and talk. "Are you okay?" she asked gently. "You look kind of sad." The alien blinked in surprise again. "I am fine," he said automatically, then paused. "Actually, I suppose I am feeling a bit isolated today." "Isolated means lonely, right?" Katie asked. "I know that feeling. Mind if I sit with you?" I was getting bored studying anyway. The alien gestured to the empty chair across from him. "Please join me. I would welcome the company." He seemed genuinely pleased by her offer. "My name is Leo." "I'm Katie," she said, sitting down and bringing her hot chocolate with her. "Leo is a nice name. Is it short for something longer?" Leo smiled, and Katie noticed it was the first real smile she had seen from him. "Yes, but Leo is easier for most people to say." "Are you visiting the station?" Katie asked. "I have not seen you here before, and I come to this cafe a lot." "Yes, I am traveling," Leo said. "I am here on business. Diplomatic business." Katie's eyes lit up with interest. "That sounds exciting. Do you get to visit lots of different planets? I do, Leo said, seeming to relax as they talked. I have. Been to many worlds and met many different species. That's so cool, Katie said enthusiastically. I want to do that someday. I'm studying xenobiology because I want to learn about all the different alien species and their cultures. Leo leaned forward with genuine interest. Xenobiology is a fascinating field. What have you learned so far? Katie groaned and pointed to her textbook screen. Right now I'm trying to memorize all these complicated scientific names, but they're so hard to remember. Like, there's this one species called Gentheriic veleneth, and I can't even pronounce it right. Leo looked at her screen and chuckled softly. Ah, the Genthari. You are pronouncing it almost correctly. The trick is to remember that their language has musical tones. Try thinking of it like a song. You know about them? Katie asked, impressed. I have met several Genthari during my travels, Leo said. They are actually quite friendly once you understand their culture. They communicate as much through the tone of their voice as through their words. For the next hour, Katie and Leo talked about different alien species. Leo seemed to know something about almost every species Katie mentioned, and he had interesting stories about many of them. He told her about the artistic Vaolithians who painted with light, and the mathematical Korani who saw patterns in everything. Katie was amazed by how much Leo knew. You must have traveled everywhere in the galaxy, she said. Leo's expression became slightly guarded. I have been fortunate to see many places, he said carefully. Katie noticed that Leo sometimes spoke about galactic events as if he had been personally involved in them. But then he would catch himself and change the subject. She thought maybe he worked for some important diplomatic organization. As they talked, Katie became aware that other aliens in the café were glancing at their table. A group of green-skinned Torvakians kept looking over and whispering to each other. An elderly Centaurian woman seemed excited about something, pointing discreetly in Leo's direction. I think some people recognize you, Katie said quietly. Are you famous or something? Leo looked uncomfortable. I prefer to keep a low profile. When I travel, he said, fame can make it difficult to have normal conversations with people. Katie nodded, though she was curious about what kind of diplomatic work would make someone famous. Well, I don't know anything about galactic politics, so you're just Leo to me. Leo's smile returned, warmer than before. I appreciate that more than you know, Katie. When Katie looked at the time, she was surprised to see that 2 hours had passed. Oh no, I should probably get back to my homework, she said reluctantly. Of course, Leo said, though he also seemed sorry their conversation was ending. It has been a pleasure talking with you. Katie gathered her things, then hesitated. Leo looked lonely again, and she felt bad about leaving him by himself. Hey, she said impulsively, would you like to meet here again tomorrow? I mean, if you're still going to be on the station. I come here every day after school to study. Leo's violet eyes brightened with genuine happiness. I would like that very much, he said. Same time tomorrow? Perfect, Katie said with a grin. See you tomorrow, Leo. As she walked away, Katie felt good about making a new friend. Leo seemed nice and incredibly knowledgeable, and she was looking forward to hearing more of his travel stories. She had no idea that she had just invited one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy to have coffee with her again. Katie arrived at Moonbeam Café the next day 15 minutes early. She had been thinking about Leo all morning and was excited to continue their conversation. She ordered her usual hot chocolate and sat at the same corner table, watching the entrance. Leo arrived exactly on time, still wearing simple dark clothes. When he saw Katie, his face lit up with the same genuine smile from yesterday. Katie waved him over enthusiastically. I was worried you might not come, Katie said as Leo sat down. I gave you my word, Leo replied, ordering something called Zephyrian tea from the server. Besides, I enjoyed our conversation yesterday more than I have enjoyed talking to anyone in quite some time. Really? Katie asked, pleased. I thought you must meet lots of interesting people in your diplomatic work. Leo's expression became thoughtful. I meet many people, yes. But most conversations in my line of work are formal, business-focused. Yesterday was refreshing because we simply talked. Over the next few weeks, Katie and Leo met at the cafe almost every day. Katie learned that Leo was staying on the station longer than originally planned, though he was vague about why his diplomatic mission was taking so long. She did not mind. Having Leo as a friend made her days much brighter. Leo proved to be an excellent listener. When Katie told him about her problems at school, he paid attention and offered thoughtful advice. When she complained about her xenobiology teacher, who made the subject boring by focusing only on memorizing facts, Leo suggested ways to make the material more interesting. Try thinking about each species as a puzzle, Leo said one afternoon. Every biological feature exists for a reason. The Corvani have those large ears because their home planet has very thin air, so they need to hear the slightest sounds to find food and avoid predators. Katie's grades began to improve dramatically. Leo's way of explaining things made everything clearer and more fascinating. Her teacher even commented that she seemed to have a natural talent for understanding alien cultures. But Katie's biggest problem was not her grades. It was the group of students who made fun of her interest in aliens. There were 5 of them, led by a boy named Brandon, who thought he was very clever. They called her Alien Lover and made jokes about her wanting to marry a Centaurian. One day, Katie came to the cafe looking upset. Leo noticed immediately. What troubles you today? He asked gently. Katie told him about Brandon and his friends. They say I'm weird for liking aliens so much. Today Brandon said that humans should stick with humans, and that I'm probably some kind of traitor for preferring alien company. Leo's violet eyes flashed with something that might have been anger, but his voice remained calm. Have I ever told you about the planet Viridia? He asked. Katie shook her head. Viridia has 3 different intelligent species living together, Leo continued. The Viridians evolved in the forests, the Aquari in the oceans, and the Terrans in the mountains. For thousands of years, they fought each other because they thought their differences made them enemies. What happened? Katie asked, interested despite her sadness. One day, a terrible disease swept across the planet. It affected all 3 species equally. They realized that only by working together and sharing their different knowledge could they find a cure. The forest people knew about plants, the ocean people understood biology, and the mountain people were skilled with technology. Leo leaned forward. They not only cured the disease, but they discovered that their planet was much more beautiful and interesting, with all 3 species contributing their unique perspectives. Today, Viridia is one of the most peaceful and prosperous worlds in the galaxy. That's a nice story, Katie said, but it doesn't change how people here think about me. Katie, Leo said seriously, the ability to see value in differences, to be curious about other cultures instead of afraid of them, is not a weakness. It is a strength that the galaxy desperately needs. Those students who mock you are afraid of what they do not understand. You are brave enough to learn. Katie felt better after hearing Leo's words. She began to realize that maybe being different was not such a bad thing after all. As their friendship grew stronger, Katie started noticing odd things about Leo. Sometimes when they were talking, other aliens in the cafe would approach their table looking nervous or excited. They would bow slightly and speak to Leo in hushed, respectful tones. Leo always responded politely but briefly, and the aliens would leave quickly. Why do people treat you like that? Katie asked after a particularly formal encounter with a group of Altarians. Some species are more formal in their social interactions. Leo said, but Katie could tell he was being evasive. Another strange thing was how Leo never seemed worried about money. Katie always brought a few credits to pay for her hot chocolate, but Leo insisted on paying for both of them every time. When Katie protested that it was not fair, Leo just smiled and said that money was not a concern for him. Leo also had an unusual way of talking about galactic events. When Katie mentioned a peace treaty she had read about in the news, Leo said, "Yes, that negotiation was quite difficult." The Corvani delegation was particularly stubborn about the trade agreements. Then he caught himself and added quickly, "Or so I heard from colleagues who were involved." Katie began to suspect that Leo was much more important than he let on. Maybe he was from a very wealthy family or held a high position in the diplomatic service. But she did not want to push him for information. Leo clearly valued his privacy, and Katie respected that. That the moment that really strengthened their friendship came 3 weeks after they first met. Katie had been having a particularly bad day. Brandon and his friends had been worse than usual, and Katie felt like she did not fit in anywhere. "Sometimes I feel like I don't belong," she told Leo sadly. "Other humans think I'm weird for liking aliens, but I'm still just a human to the aliens I meet. I'm stuck in between." Leo was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I understand that feeling more than you might think." "You do?" Katie asked. "Yes," Leo said softly. "I often feel isolated, even when surrounded by people. My position in life makes it difficult for others to relate to me as simply another person. Most people either fear me or want something from me. It is rare to find someone who just enjoys my company." Katie looked at Leo's sad expression and felt a surge of protectiveness toward her friend. "Well, I enjoy your company," she said firmly, "and I don't want anything from you except friendship." Leo smiled, and Katie could see genuine gratitude in his violet eyes. "That means more to me than you could possibly know." From that moment, Katie felt like she and Leo truly understood each other. They were both outsiders in their own ways, both searching for genuine connection in a galaxy that could be lonely and complicated. Katie began looking forward to their daily meetings more than anything else in her life. Leo always had interesting stories about different worlds and cultures. He helped her with her studies, listened to her problems, and made her feel like her dreams of exploring the galaxy were actually possible. "Do you think I could really become a xenobiologist?" Katie asked one day. "Do you think I could travel to other worlds and study different species?" "I think you have exactly the right combination of curiosity, intelligence, and empathy," Leo said. "The galaxy needs people like you, Katie. People who see the beauty in diversity rather than fear in differences." Katie felt proud and hopeful. When Leo said things like that, she trusted his opinion more than almost anyone else's, including her parents and teachers. Leo had seen so much of the galaxy, and if he thought she had potential, then maybe she really could achieve her dreams. Neither Katie nor Leo realized how much their friendship was about to be tested by the truth about who Leo really was. Katie was rushing to get to the cafe when her teacher called her name in the hallway. "Katie Morrison, wait a moment," said Mrs. Rodriguez, her xenobiology teacher. "I have exciting news for your class." Katie stopped, though she was eager too. Meet Leo. They had been friends for almost 2 months now, and she looked forward to their daily talks more than anything else. "What is it, Mrs. Rodriguez?" Katie asked politely. "Your class has been selected for a very special field trip," the teacher said with a big smile. "Next week, we will witness a historic event. The Zephyrian Emperor is coming to New Haven Station for a rare public appearance." Katie's eyes widened. She had heard of the Zephyrian Emperor, of course. Everyone in the galaxy knew about Leo Valdris. The third, He was famous for being one of the most powerful and respected leaders in known space. The Emperor rarely makes public appearances, Mrs. Rodriguez continued. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see galactic history being made. The Emperor is meeting with station officials to discuss new trade agreements that will affect dozens of star systems. That sounds amazing, Katie said, though she was still thinking about getting to the cafe. When is it happening? 1 week from today. I want everyone in class to research the Emperor and write a report about Cypherian culture and politics. This will be worth 20% of your final grade. Katie nodded and hurried away to meet Leo. When she arrived at the cafe, she found him already sitting at their usual table, staring out at the stars with that familiar distant look in his violet eyes. "Sorry I'm late," Katie said, sitting down. With her hot chocolate. "My teacher kept me to tell us about a field trip." "Oh?" Leo asked, seeming to focus on her with effort. "Where are you going?" "We're going to see the Zephyrian Emperor when he visits the station next week," Katie said, excitedly. "Apparently it's a really big deal because he hardly ever makes public appearances." Leo went very still. His cup of tea stopped halfway to his lips, and Katie could see something like panic flash across his face. "The Emperor is coming here?" Leo asked quietly. "Yes, isn't that exciting?" Katie said, "I have to write a report about him for class." "Do you know anything about Zephyrian culture?" "You seem to know about everything else." Leo set down his cup carefully. "I know a little about Zephyrians," he said in a strange voice. "What are they like?" Katie asked. "I mean, besides being tall and having purple eyes like you do." Leo looked at her sharply. "Purple eyes? Violet, I mean," Katie said quickly. "Your eyes are violet, just like in the pictures I've seen of Zephyrians. And you're tall like them too. I bet you get that comparison a lot when you travel." "Yes," Leo said slowly. "I suppose I do." Katie did not notice how uncomfortable Leo looked. She was too excited about the upcoming visit to pay attention to his strange behavior. "The Emperor is supposed to be incredibly wise," Katie continued. "I read that he united dozens of different star systems peacefully, without any wars. He must be an amazing diplomat." "He has had good advisors," Leo said quietly. "And he's supposed to be really young for an emperor," Katie added. "Only about 40 in human years, but he's been ruling for almost 20 years. He must have become emperor when he was really young." Leo nodded, but did not say anything. "I wonder what it would be like to meet him," Katie said dreamily. "Do you think he's as wise as everyone says? Or do you think the stories are exaggerated?" Leo was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I think he is probably just a person, like anyone else, with the same doubts and fears as everyone." "That's a nice way to think about it," Katie said. "I bet being emperor is really lonely, having all that responsibility and power, but not knowing if people like you for who you are, or just because you're important." Leo looked at Katie with an expression she could not read. "That is a very insightful observation," he said softly. Over the next few days, Katie threw herself into researching the Emperor for her school report. She spent hours reading about Zephyrian history, culture, and politics. The more she learned, the more impressed she became. Emperor Leo Valders III had inherited the throne when he was only 21, after his parents died in a transport accident. Instead of starting wars to prove his strength like many young rulers, he had focused on building alliances and creating peace. Under his rule, the Zephyrian Confederation had grown from a small group of planets to a major galactic power. The Emperor was known for his personal involvement in diplomatic negotiations. Unlike many rulers who sent representatives, he often traveled to meet with other leaders himself. He spoke 17 different languages and was respected by dozens of alien species. As Katie read more about the Emperor, she began noticing strange coincidences. The Emperor's full name was Leo Valders, and her friend was also named Leo. The Emperor was known for his deep knowledge of alien cultures, just like her friend. Both had the same violet eyes and tall build, but Katie pushed these thoughts away. Her Leo was just a diplomatic traveler, not the ruler of a galactic confederation. The similarities were just coincidence. Still, she found herself studying pictures of the Emperor more carefully. In the official portraits, he looked stern and formal, wearing elaborate royal robes and a crown. But in the few casual photos she found, usually taken from a distance at diplomatic events, she could see glimpses of a gentler expression. Something about the way he held himself reminded her of Leo. Meanwhile, Leo was becoming increasingly troubled. During their daily meetings, he seemed distracted and worried. Katie noticed that he kept starting to say something, then stopping himself. He asked her strange questions about friendship and trust. "Katie," Leo said one afternoon, "if you discovered that a friend had not been completely honest with you about something important, would you be able to forgive them?" "That depends," Katie said thoughtfully. "Did they lie to hurt me? Or were they trying to protect something?" "Protect something," Leo said quietly. "Then I think I could understand," Katie said. "Everyone has reasons for keeping some things private. As long as the friendship was real, the rest wouldn't matter as much." Leo looked relieved, but also more worried. "And if this friend was much more important than they had led you to believe?" Katie laughed. "Leo, are you trying to tell me you're secretly a prince or something?" Leo's face went pale. "Would that change how you felt about our friendship?" "Of course not," Katie said, still laughing. "I mean, it would be surprising, but you'd still be the same person who listens to my problems and helps me with my homework. Being important doesn't change who you are inside." Leo smiled, but Katie could see sadness in his eyes. "I hope you truly believe that," he said quietly. The day before the Emperor's arrival, Leo seemed especially nervous. He kept checking the time and looking toward the station's main docking bays, where the Imperial ship would arrive tomorrow. "Are you excited about seeing the Emperor?" Katie asked. "Excited is not the word I would use," Leo said carefully. "Are you nervous?" "I am. I've never seen anyone so famous before. What if I embarrass myself somehow?" Leo reached across the table and took her hand gently. "Katie, you could never embarrass yourself. You are one of the most genuine, kind people I have ever met. Anyone would be honored to know you." Katie felt touched by Leo's words, but she also noticed something strange. He was talking like he might not see her again for a while. "Leo, is everything okay?" she asked. "You've been acting weird all week." Leo squeezed her hand. "I want you to know that our friendship has meant everything to me," he said seriously. "Whatever happens tomorrow, I want you to remember that every conversation we have had has been real. My feelings for you as a friend are completely genuine." "You're scaring me," Katie said. "What's going to happen tomorrow?" Leo stood up from the table. "I have some preparations to make for tomorrow's events," he said. "But Katie, I promise you that we will talk again soon. And when we do, I will tell you everything." He walked away quickly, leaving Katie confused and worried. She had no idea that tomorrow would change everything she thought she knew about her friend. Katie woke up early on the day of the Emperor's arrival. She had barely slept, partly because she was excited about seeing the famous ruler, and partly because she was worried about Leo's strange behavior yesterday. He had seemed so sad when he left the cafe, almost like he was saying goodbye forever. She got dressed quickly and checked her communication device. There was a message from Leo sent very early that morning. "Katie, I am sorry I cannot meet you at the cafe today. I have urgent duties that require my attention. I hope you enjoy seeing the Emperor. We will talk soon. Your friend Leo." Katie felt disappointed She had wanted to tell Leo all about the Emperor after seeing him, but she understood that Leo's diplomatic work was important and probably very busy. Katie joined her classmates at the designated viewing area on Deck 7. Mrs. Rodriguez had arranged for them to have a good spot where they could see the docking bay through large windows. The area was crowded with hundreds of people from all over the station. Humans, Altarians, Centaurians, and dozens of other species had all come to witness this historic event. The Emperor's ship should arrive any moment, Mrs. Rodriguez announced. To the class, remember, this is a rare honor. Emperor Leo Valders III rarely makes public appearances like this. Katie pressed closer to the window. She could see the main docking bay below, where station officials and security teams were waiting in perfect formation. Colorful banners from different worlds hung from the ceiling, and musicians from various species were preparing to play welcome songs. There it is, someone shouted. Katie looked up and gasped. The Imperial ship was enormous, gleaming silver and gold in the starlight. It moved gracefully toward the station, its design more beautiful than any ship Katie had ever seen. As it approached the docking bay, smaller escort ships formed a protective formation around it. The crowd around Katie grew quiet as the ship settled into the docking clamps. Katie could feel excitement in the air. Even the adults seemed nervous and thrilled at the same time. "Look at all those security guards," whispered Ben, one of Katie's classmates. "There must be 50 of them down there." Katie counted the figures in dark uniforms, standing at attention around the docking bay. Ben was right. Security was incredibly tight for this visit. The airlock began to cycle open. Katie held her breath, along with everyone else watching. First came the Imperial Guards, tall figures in ceremonial armor that gleamed under the bright lights. They moved with precise military coordination, taking positions on either side of the airlock. Then came the royal advisors, wearing flowing robes in rich colors. Katie recognized some of the species from her studies. There were Zephyrians, Altarians, and even a few humans among the group. "And now," announced the station's public address system, His Imperial Majesty, Leo Valders III, Emperor of the Zephyrian Confederation. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause. Katie clapped enthusiastically, standing on her toes to get a better view. She was about to see one of the most powerful people in the galaxy. A figure appeared in the airlock, and Katie's world suddenly felt like it was spinning. Standing there, acknowledging the cheers of the crowd with a gentle wave, was Leo. Her friend who drank tea with her every day and helped her with her homework and listened to her problems about school bullies. But this was not the Leo she knew. This Leo wore magnificent royal robes in deep purple and silver. A crown sat on his silver hair, gleaming with jewels from a dozen different worlds. He moved with the confident grace of someone who was used to having thousands of people watch his every step, yet it was definitely him. The same tall build, the same pale blue skin, the same kind violet eyes. Even wearing royal clothes and a crown, Katie could see the gentle expression she knew so well. "That's him," Mrs. Rodriguez said excitedly. "That's Emperor Leo Valders III." Katie could not speak. She could not even breathe properly. The noise of the crowd faded away as she stared at the figure below. Her mind was racing, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. Leo, her friend Leo, who worried about being lonely, who paid for her hot chocolate every day, who gave her advice about dealing with bullies, was the Emperor of the Zephyrian Confederation. One of the most powerful beings in the galaxy had been sitting with her in a small café, pretending to be just a traveling diplomat. Katie felt sick. Had everything been a lie? Had Leo been laughing at her the whole time, amused by the foolish human girl who did not recognize one of the most famous people in known space? "Katie, are you okay?" asked her friend Amy. "You look really pale." Katie mumbled something about not feeling well and pushed her way out of the crowd. She needed to get away from the noise and excitement. She needed to think. She found herself walking toward Moonbeam Café without really deciding to go there. Her feet just carried her to the place where she had spent so many happy hours talking with someone who was not who she thought he was. The café was nearly empty. Everyone on the station was either watching the Emperor's arrival or working to support the visit. Katie sat at their usual table and stared at the empty chair where Leo always sat. She felt betrayed and confused and angry all at the same time. How could he have lied to her for so long? She had told him everything about her life, her dreams, her fears. She had trusted him completely. And the whole time, he had been keeping this enormous secret from her. But as she sat there, Katie began to remember things differently. Leo had never actually lied to her about who he was. He had said he was traveling on diplomatic business, which was true. He had said his work was important, which was definitely true. He had been vague about details, but he had never directly lied. Katie also remembered how surprised Leo had always seemed when she was kind to him. How grateful he looked when she just wanted to spend time with him. How he had said that most people either feared him or wanted something from him. Now she understood why. If you were the Emperor, how could you ever know if people genuinely liked you or just wanted to use your power? How lonely would it be to never have a simple, honest conversation with someone who saw you as just a person? Katie was still hurt and confused, but she was beginning to understand why Leo had not told her the truth. Maybe he had just wanted to experience what it was like to be treated normally for once in his life. As evening approached, Katie was still sitting in the cafe when she heard footsteps. She looked up and saw Leo approaching her table. He was no longer wearing the royal robes and crown. Instead, he wore his usual simple dark clothes. But now Katie could see things she had missed before. The way he carried himself with natural authority. The expensive quality of his simple clothes. The careful way he chose his words. Leo sat down across from her, looking nervous and hopeful and scared all at the same time. "Hello, Katie," he said quietly. "Hello, Your Imperial Majesty," Katie replied, her voice colder than she intended. Leo winced. "Please, just call me Leo. I am still the same person you have been talking with all these weeks." "Are you?" Katie asked. "Because the person I thought I knew was just a diplomat, not the ruler of half the galaxy." Leo was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I never intended to deceive you, Katie. When we first met, I was planning to tell you who I was after a few conversations. But then I realized how wonderful it was to have someone treat me like a normal person instead of an emperor." "So, you decided to lie to me," Katie said. "I decided to be myself with you," Leo said earnestly. "Everything I told you about my feelings, my loneliness, my interest in your studies, all of that was completely real. The only thing I hid was my title." Katie stared at him, trying to sort through her emotions. She was hurt, but she was also beginning to see things from his perspective. How terrible would it be to never know if people liked you for yourself? "I trusted you," she said quietly. "And I value that trust more than anything else in my life," Leo replied. "Katie, you have given me something I thought I could never have. A real friendship based on who I am as a person, not what I represent as a ruler." Katie looked into his violet eyes and saw the same kindness and sadness she had always seen there. Emperor or not, this was still the same person who had helped her feel confident about her dreams and taught her to see the beauty in different cultures. But she was still hurt, and she needed time to understand what this all meant for their friendship. Katie did not sleep well that night. She kept thinking about her conversation with Leo at the cafe. He had looked so sad when she called him Your Imperial Majesty in that cold voice. But she was still confused and hurt. How was she supposed to feel about discovering that her best friend was one of the most powerful people in the galaxy? The next morning, Katie decided to learn more about Leo's life as emperor. If she was going to understand why he had hidden his identity, she needed to know what his world was really like. She spent hours reading everything she could find about Emperor Leo Valders III. The more she read, the more she began to understand. His loneliness. Leo had become emperor when he was only 21 years old, after his parents died in a terrible accident. He had no brothers or sisters, no family left to support him. He had been thrust into a position of enormous responsibility while still grieving for his parents. Katie read about his daily schedule and felt exhausted just thinking about it. Leo spent 12 to 14 hours every day in meetings, making decisions that affected billions of people across dozens of star systems. He had to negotiate treaties, settle disputes between different species, and manage an empire that spanned half the galaxy. The articles mentioned that the emperor had never married and had very few close friends. Royal biographers speculated that his position made personal relationships nearly impossible. Everyone who met him wanted something from him, whether it was political favors, trade agreements, or simply the status of knowing the emperor. Katie found one interview where a former advisor talked about Leo's character. The advisor said that the emperor was incredibly kind and genuinely cared about the welfare of his people, but that he carried the weight of his responsibilities heavily. He rarely smiled in public and seemed to have no time for personal happiness. Katie read these descriptions. She thought about the Leo she knew. The way his face lit up when she arrived at the cafe. How he laughed at her jokes and seemed genuinely interested in her school problems. How he had said that their conversations were the best part of his day. Katie began to realize that Leo had not been lying when he said their friendship was precious to him. For a few hours each day, he had been able to forget about being the emperor and just be a person talking with a friend. 3 days passed before Katie made her decision. She sent a message to Leo's official suite, asking if they could meet at the cafe. She was not sure what she was going to say, but she knew she needed to talk to him again. Leo arrived at the cafe looking nervous and hopeful. He wore his simple civilian clothes again, but now Katie could see the subtle signs of his real status. The expensive fabric, the perfect fit, the way other aliens in the cafe glanced at him with recognition and respect. "Thank you for agreeing to see me," Leo said as he sat down. "I've been doing a lot of reading about you," Katie said. "About your life as emperor." Leo looked uncomfortable. "I imagine it made for interesting research." "It made me sad," Katie said honestly. "You work all the time. You never get to relax or have fun. You don't have any real friends." "I have advisors and colleagues," Leo said quietly. "That's not the same thing," Katie replied. "No wonder you wanted to pretend to be someone else for a while." Leo looked up at her with surprise and hope in his violet eyes. "Does that mean you understand why I didn't tell you the truth?" Katie thought carefully before answering. "I understand why you did it," she said. "But I'm still hurt that you didn't trust me enough to tell me sooner." "I wanted to tell you," Leo said earnestly. "Every day I wanted to tell you. But I was afraid that everything would change between us. I was afraid you would start treating me like an emperor instead of like Leo." "You mean like everyone else does?" Katie said. "Yes," Leo admitted. "Katie, you have no idea how rare it is for someone to argue with me about who should pay for coffee, or to tell me I'm wrong about something, or to complain to me about homework. Most people are too intimidated or too respectful to treat me like a normal person." Katie could see the loneliness in his expression, and her anger began to fade. "It must be really hard," she said softly. "The hardest part," Leo said, "is never knowing if people actually like you or if they're just being Nice because of what you represent. When you invited me to have coffee again that first day, I knew you weren't trying to gain anything from me. You just wanted to spend time with me because you enjoyed talking with me. I did enjoy talking with you, Katie said. I still do. But Leo, you're the Emperor. Doesn't that make everything different now? Leo leaned forward. Only if we let it. Katie, underneath all the titles and responsibilities, I'm still the same person who helped you with your xenobiology homework. I still think you're going to be an amazing scientist. I still value your friendship more than anything else in my life. Katie looked at Leo's face and saw the same kindness and gentleness she had always seen there. Emperor or not, this was still her friend who listened to her problems and made her feel like her dreams were possible. I forgive you for not telling me, Katie said finally. But if we're going to stay friends, you have to promise me something. Anything, Leo said immediately. Promise me you'll never lie to me again, even if the truth is complicated or difficult. I'd rather know who you really are than have a friendship based on secrets. Leo smiled, and it was the first genuine smile Katie had seen from him since the day of the revelation. I promise, he said, complete honesty from now on. They talked for 2 more hours, and Katie found that their friendship was not ruined by the truth. If anything, it felt stronger now that there were no secrets between them. Leo told her about the real challenges of ruling an empire, and Katie shared more about her dreams of exploring the galaxy and studying alien cultures. As their conversation was ending, Leo became serious again. Katie, I have something to ask you, and I want you to know that our friendship has nothing to do with this offer. I would ask this even if we had never met. Katie waited curiously. There is a school called the Imperial Academy, Leo continued. It's on the capital world of the Zephyrian Confederation. They have the best xenobiology program in the galaxy, with opportunities to study on dozens of different worlds and work with species that most scientists never get to meet. Katie's eyes widened. She had heard of the Imperial Academy. It was incredibly prestigious and nearly impossible to get into. I would like to recommend you for their program, Leo said. Not because you're my friend, but because you have exactly the kind of curiosity and understanding that they look for in their students. Katie felt overwhelmed. Leo, I couldn't accept something like that. People would think you're just giving me special treatment because we're friends. Katie, Leo said firmly, I have seen your work. I have talked with you about dozens of alien species and cultures. You have a natural talent for xenobiology and a genuine respect for other cultures that can't be taught. The Academy would be lucky to have you. Katie thought about all the conversations they had shared, how Leo had helped her understand complex concepts and encouraged her interests. She realized that he was right. Their friendship had helped her discover and develop her abilities, but the abilities themselves were real. Would I really be qualified? She asked. More than qualified, Leo said. You would excel there. Katie felt a surge of excitement and possibility. This was the opportunity she had dreamed about, the chance to study alien cultures across the galaxy and maybe make a real difference in promoting understanding between different species. I would love to apply, she said. 6 months later, Katie stood on the observation deck of a transport ship, watching the beautiful blue and silver planet of Zephyria grow larger through the viewport. She had been accepted to the Imperial Academy. With the highest test scores in her class, Leo had been right. Katie excelled in her studies, not because of any special treatment, but because she had a genuine gift for understanding and communicating with different species. Her professors were impressed by her natural empathy and her ability to see past surface differences to find common ground. Katie received messages from Leo regularly. He was still incredibly busy with his duties as emperor, but he always found time to ask about her studies and encourage her progress. Their friendship had survived the Revelation of his identity can grow stronger because of their honesty with each other. As Katie began her new life at the academy, she thought about that first day in Moonbeam Café when she had helped a lonely stranger pick up his dropped datapad. She had no idea then that this simple act of kindness would lead to a friendship that would change both their lives. Katie was no longer just a student dreaming of the stars. She was someone who had touched the life of one of the galaxy's most powerful leaders, and in doing so, had discovered her own potential to make a difference in the universe. The girl who had once felt like an outsider for loving alien cultures was now studying to become a bridge between different species, helping to build the kind of understanding that made the galaxy a better place for everyone.